Hello and welcome to this author spotlight with Lei Mohr, who is coming all the way from Hawaii and me being all the way in Australia. So we're coming together today to talk about her beautiful book, There Was No Fear. Lei, this is your third book, isn't it?
It's actually my fifth or sixth book, but
Okay.
there it is. There it is.
There it is. It's so beautiful. Yes. I love the cover. I feel like the cover is so high vibrational with this beautiful geometric shape. I don't know how far I can bring it in. Maybe you can hold yours up to the camera. You don't have this background. Yeah, I just love this background. It's so high vibrational and so beautiful. So I would love to know from you. Maybe just introduce yourself a little bit, give us a little bit of your backstory and how you came to write this book.
Okay, we'll just do the real backstory real quick. I grew up in a family that was not particularly pleasant, and I had a very difficult relationship with my mother all through my life. I had the first near-death experience after the birth of my second son when I was 21, and from that one, because I chose to come back, I felt I learned empowerment because I knew I had a reason to be here. I knew that I had a purpose in being here. And then I went through life raising my two children, and then I had the second near-death experience after I got here to Hawaii, back to Hawaii. And that one was more about learning that I was not suited, or that corporate America did not suit working people anymore. And that a lot of people are ditching corporate America, including me, because it doesn't serve the people. And then the next one after that was, this is kind of the big one, because this one was just barely pre-COVID. And it was basically where everything came together and started for me. And that one, they say now, was probably caused by early COVID. Although that time they didn't have a name for it, they didn't have tests, they didn't have anything, so they can't say for sure. And then the last part happened just last December, and that's when I had the shared death experience with my mother, who was in prison for the murder of my former sister-in-law 15 years earlier. And the healing that I did just before that allowed me to actually have that experience, but it was also what helped me open up. I had felt like I wasn't moving where I should because something was holding me back, and it was that relationship with my mother. And I know a lot of people out there struggle with relationships with their parents. This is how I healed mine, so that I could then move on and help other people to move on better than I had been before.
Wow. So it sounds like each near-death or shared-death experience that you've had was really pivotal in teaching you something in your life, like a guidepost, right? Like the first one, empowerment. The second one, let's leave corporate. It's not suited for you. The third one, you were saying did I hear that right? That it brought you into your soul path and your even,
Yes.
oh, what was that? Yeah. And then the fourth one, this shared death experience with your mother to heal that relationship so that you could, I guess, be free, become even more free and even more of who you are.
And actually communicate, and I now have a relationship with her that I never had when she was alive.
For those people not understanding what that actually means, shared death experience, can you describe what happened in that last one with your mother?
Okay. The first thing that the precursor to it is the really important part. So I'm going to go through that too. I felt like there was something holding me back, something I needed to get through and get over. I needed to get this healed so that I could open up and be truly who I am. And I knew that it was my relationship with my mother, which had never been good. She had attempted to kill me when I was 16, and that you can just put your own picture about how it was growing up for me, and it's probably true. Anyway, so I got to a point where I was like, I really need to heal this, but I don't know how. And someone that I knew of said that she had a similar experience to mine, and she had figured out how to see her parents in a loving way, that they had done what they did so that she could have the foundation that she needed so she could be who she was. And I thought, that sounds really strange, and I'm not sure that's going to work for me. But I kind of let it settle in, and I still didn't find a way. And so finally I just said, help me. I need something. I need to know how to do this. I need to know how to heal this. And they instantly gave me a picture of a movie theater, and there was all the seats in or actually just a regular theater. There was a stage, and I was the only person in the seats, and it was very dark. And then I saw that I was also the director, the actor, the writer. I was everything in the movie, including the person doing the lights and the sound. But the part of that happened, I saw my life going across the stage, and I could see how if I was an actor in this, that my mother was also an actor in this, and that she had chosen and I had chosen to be in this life together, and to make the foundation for what I needed to be able to be who I am today, which is a transformer. I helped people transform their traumas so they can go on and live their best lives, live their dream lives. But in order to be able to do that to my best, I needed to do it for me too. So I saw all of this, and I could see how she had loved me enough to choose to come in and help me make that foundation. And that was very pivotal for me. It allowed me to be free, joyous, grateful, just to live my life fully. And then just a couple months after that, in last December, I remember she's in prison. I haven't seen her for years, many years, and I had no contact with her. The only person the prison had contact with was my brother, whose former wife, she had killed. And so, and I didn't know that at the time. I didn't have any idea about that. But one day in mid-December, I didn't know that he had any. I didn't know he had any contact at all. I didn't know they had a contact with him.
Right.
So one day in December, all of a sudden I just got really jittery, and like I'd had way too much coffee, and I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't concentrate, and I was just like, ah. And I tried absolutely everything to get rid of this. I tried yoga, music. I did everything I could, but nothing helped. Nothing even touched it. And I just was like, how do I get rid of this? And I'm not kidding, on the third day, it broke, and it broke into bliss and joy, much like what I'd had in the near-death experiences, only more so. And this one was just like pure love, joy. I can't even describe it. So much so that, well, then, as I'm getting this feeling, my brother calls me, and he says, our mother died today. And I said, oh, and I told him what had happened to me. And he said, well, 2 days ago, they called me and said that she was in bad shape and they didn't expect her to make it. And I realized at that point that what I had done is shared her death experience with her. I was feeling what she was feeling, and she was, we were like together for this. And so after I talked to him, or while I was talking to him, actually, our friends called my husband and said, you want to go out for coffee? And So he came and asked me, he said, "Do you want to go out for coffee with them?" And I said, "Sure." And we went out and had a lovely time. And I was so joyful, and there was no grief at all, none. And what I learned from this is not only that we can heal these major traumas, but also that, and when my sister died, I understand what grieving is all about. I grieved. I mean, it was debilitating almost. But I know now that it doesn't have to be that way. And I can see how in the future, grieving will not happen. People will understand that that is just a dropping of the body, and that the person is still there, maybe more so, because the person is everywhere, and there's no separation, and there can be no separation. So when we come into life, there would be almost be more of a grieving process, because that's when you're separating from whatever you want to call it, the eternal. And when you leave the body, you go back to the eternal. So there will actually be a celebration when you leave the body, when a person leaves the body, because you're going back to the eternal.
It's such a paradigm shift, isn't it? And for people who haven't experienced near-death experiences and experienced the bliss that you're describing and the oneness that happens on the other side, that's quite a, that's initially it's a concept. And then for me, as I'm being more around people like you, it feels more like, yes, it becomes a remembrance, and then it becomes a knowing. And so, and that's something that you can activate in people, I believe. And I remember in the book you were sharing that after that first near-death experience, you wrote that when one does not fear death, one does not fear life, and that really gave you a great deal of empowerment and success in the physical world. Is that something that you want to comment around that?
Sure. And that's absolutely true. Anyone who has had a near-death experience probably would say the same thing, that once you know that there is not an end to us, you can make choices. You can make you can, I don't even know how to say this. You can make choices for your life that are going to bring you different opportunities, different experiences, without such great concern about safety and what's going to happen to me. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to experience it, and I'm going to have the best time I can experiencing it. It's very freeing to know that you're not going to die. I mean, your body, all of us are going to drop our bodies at some point in time. That's a given. But it doesn't have to be a traumatic, this is the end of me, because it's not. And when you know that it's not that the end of you, it frees you to be able to go on and have much deeper and more colorful, meaningful experiences while you're here, which is what we're here to do.
I think the only thing that I would currently be afraid is that I would leave my children without a mother. And I think that was the very thing that you were going through in your first near-death experience. And then you had that choice, right?
Yes. Yes. I was given the choice. I was asked, do you want to come now? And I panicked and said, no, I have 2 kids to raise. And I came right back. Without judgment, with just pure love. I was given the choice to do either way, whatever you do, it's fine. And I was okay. I mean, the being giving me the choice couldn't care less if I made one choice or the other, but gave me the respect of saying, do you want to come now? And allowed me to do it.
Yeah. And this is where the trust comes in, isn't it? Like trusting that in our divine guidance, and that we do have that free will to a certain extent. And if our human self does not think we have that free will, it is still in alignment with the divine guidance and the divine will.
Yes. Yes.
There's a question here from somebody who's joined us saying, you can make any, oh no, it's not a question actually, it's an interpretation. You can make anything fit your belief. More of a comment, I think, than a question. Yeah. It's around that shift, isn't it? That death is the end versus death is just a returning to the oneness, returning home.
Which also, if everything is oneness, this planet that we're on is also oneness. We can experience everything that would be experienced there, here on Earth, if we figure out, if we can get past all of our fears and allow ourselves to do it. We don't have to wait. Heaven is not a place that is somewhere else. In fact, I'm not really sure heaven even exists. I think everything is everywhere. The whole universe is everywhere. And we are everywhere. We are basically just energy, which is in the form of sound and light, compressed into our little bodies. And when we leave the body behind and we become our expanded self. Why not expand ourselves now and live on this planet, this beautiful planet that we're on, in the bliss that we can feel on the other side? Because there's not another side.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful thing to remember and to take into our daily, that question, take that into our daily lives. For those of us who haven't experienced that. And so being in your presence really brings that out. And so my next question to you is, how do you work with your clients? What are some of the changes that they go through by being in your presence as a transformer?
Before I start working with a client, about 15 minutes before at least, I put myself in a state of being able to accept what comes into me. And I am as much dealing with the entities that work through me as I am saying what I say. And this helps me to be able to guide them personally from where they are at that moment. And I've had a lady who lost her husband of 30 years very suddenly, and it was just completely beside herself. She had no idea which way was up or what she was going to do or anything. And we worked through it, and she changed completely her career. She had been an accountant doing basically taxes and things like that. And she became someone who travels around the country visiting spots and people that she loves. And at the same point in time, she can continue to make an income, but she doesn't have to be stuck in one house. She doesn't have to be stuck in one place.
That's very liberating.
Mm-hmm. I've also worked with somebody who was working basically in a factory or a manufacturing plant, but knew that that's not where they needed to be. And what this person really wanted to do is to be a professional pilot. And so we went through the steps one by one and got this person not only to be a pilot, but to be a professional air ambulance pilot, helping people at the same time. And so it can be huge for these people to be able to find and live the lives that they're meant for.
How can people find you?
They can find me through my website, which is handletheshift.com, handletheshift.com. They can find me on Facebook under my name, Lei Mohr. They can find me on LinkedIn, again, under my name, Lei Mohr. So it's not too hard to get a hold of me. There's lots of ways to do it.
That's great. So did I spell it right?
Yep, perfect.
Wonderful. So there it is for those of you who are visual. Yeah, if you're resonating with Leigh's story and you are looking to just get those transmissions of embracing your life more, learning to release the fear of life, certainly get hold of this copy. It's all around Amazon in whichever country you are in. And if you want to reach out to her personally to work with her, the details are all here. Any final words of wisdom that you would like to share with anybody listening?
Yes, what I've recently come to is the idea that, a lot of people have one NDE and then they have a transformation. For me, life has all been about a trajectory from one event to the next. And I now see my entire life as a flow through of these experiences. I don't think it could have been possible to have one without the other. And I think that's true for everybody. I think if we look at our lives, you can see that each event in your life is working up toward something else. And when you get to that point where you're there, you look back at it and you, oh, yeah, now I can see it. I can see that it was all leading up to this. And I think that's really a powerful way of seeing your life.
Yeah, very, very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll leave it on that empowering note. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for who you are. And may your wisdom through this book and all the other books that you have already written travel far and wide.